Awesome. So just to start it off, my name's Craig. I'm the technical director up at Ottawa City Surf. Transformational coaching, it's been a big thing that Canada Soccer have pushed in their licensing. I am not a sports psychologist, so just to get that disclaimer out the way straight away. But we've had a lot of success in our club of changing the culture of our coaches, and trying to get it more sort of player centric as opposed to coach centric, which I feel is sort of like one of the modern trends in the game as sports psychology is becoming more applicable and more accessible for everybody. So I'm just going to run through some slides from a coaches meeting that I actually delivered a couple of weeks ago to our coaches here. So quick agenda, we try and take a high level view of why sports are important, and also get into the details of why kids play. I've took a lot of this information from the Aspen Institute and Project Play, and I'll share some links if anyone's interested in sort of reading more afterwards. From there, we get our coaches to dive into what their coaching philosophy is, and I feel like that's a really good starting point. And then we'll talk a little bit about what transformational coaching is. I'll try and give you some live examples of what I do with my teams, and then we'll talk a little bit about some methodology that goes with it as well. So at Ottawa City, we're a full service club. What that means is we start kids at 3-year-old, and we've actually got 3 teams who are playing over 50s this year. So we're a full youth adult club. I think our oldest player in the club is 67, which is just insane. Like it's crazy. Awesome. And a big part of our mission is to foster a lifelong passion for the game. And we use the research here of why it's important. So, I won't read everything on the slide there, but physically active kids, 1 in 10 less likely to be obese. You've got higher test scores, you've got higher self-esteem, and then you've got the full sort of cyclical approach of active parents are associated with active kids. So we try and always tell our coaches that when you're coming in here, you're not just coming in to coach a team, you're having a much bigger impact in each kid's life that's on your team. And some of the benefits that you can get from playing in sports is just outrageous. And that's got to be our first thought. The next slide just shows more of it. Post-pandemic, there is a mental health crisis with kids and in schools, and there's not enough kids active. So again, we just talk about the benefits of playing sports and, physical activity linked to better cognition, brain function, mental health. 2 times, if kids aren't active, twice as likely to have anxiety, depression. Like these are big things that, again, when you get lost in the X's and O's and the wins and losses, you can lose a little bit of focus of what our responsibility is as leaders and as coaches. And then we bring it back to the stat that I'm sure you've all heard of 70% youth players drop out of sports before they reach 13. And when you think back to all of those benefits that the kids get out of playing sports, to think that 70% are out of organised sport by 13, it's an alarming stat. And for us, we challenge our coaches: can we buck the trend? Can we defy the odds and then keep kids in the sport for longer? So part of how we do that is with trying to dive into why kids play. So if we look on the next slide, this is again from the Aspen Institute, and they did a survey of thousands of kids and listed what things they found fun or less fun. So when you look at them, trying your best, being respected, getting playing time, playing well as a team, getting along with your teammates, exercising, being active, and start to think of how many of those are psychosocial versus technical, tactical, and then how much time and effort we put in the technical and tactical versus how much time we put in the social, emotional. I just think it's like quite eye-opening, something that we all should spend a little bit more time on when you get down to what's less of a priority for kids, winning specialty trainers, medals, trophies, and all these things that we build into our programs, rightly or wrongly. but for me, it's focusing on those top 6. So our next one. This one's always a good one, and I don't know if people ever sort of write it out. I just thought it'd be like a fun one to throw into the chat of just take a minute and think about why you coach. So I don't know if there is a chat feature, Gary, that we can monitor that people can just sort of throw in, what is it that you coach?
I think there is, yeah, there definitely is. If you want to put it there, coaches, that'd be great. We can come to them at the end.
Yeah, so thanks, Gary, to inspire. I don't know if anyone else wants to throw anything in there. As you're sort of thinking about it, for me, it was always, I come from a small town in England, and the games brought me to America, to Canada. So for me, it's always just been about giving back. Like when I realized I wasn't going to be a pro player, I still want to be involved in the game, and for me, it's just that wanting to give back.
Good.
Yeah, awesome. So the reason why I like to do that is, a lot of coaches will say the same things. It's to give back. It's to inspire. It's to, not many coaches, tend to write in there wins and losses. It's to win championships. But I find, and I'm guilty of this as well, you're in an important game that you feel like you need to win, and it's your sub rotation, and it's your weakest player who potentially has to go into the game. Like, how many times have you sat that kid an extra 5 minutes to try and get a different outcome in a game versus just putting the player in? And it's funny how when you get into it, your own ego, your own sort of will to compete, pressure from parents, pressure from maybe your club directors, you needing to win games because feeling like you might lose players. Like, it's how much of these things take over, and get away from what our actual philosophy is and why we're doing it. So I just think this is a hugely important exercise to do with your coaches, to keep them grounded and then to sort of refer back to. And it leads nicely into what transformational coaches' behavior are. So we'll talk about that on the next slide. Sorry, skipped a slide. This one's what we've presented to our coaches afterwards. So we sort of summarized everything that's been given in, and from a tech staff, it's, every kid matters, connecting with your players, life lessons through sports. So yeah, transformational coaching. And yeah, really good point, Tom. It is for the kids. It's not for us, but it's, again, I've been there. I've been in games where I'm like, fuck, I really want to win this one. and you sometimes make decisions and reflect back on, that was stupid. That wasn't really what I'm here for. So, yeah, when we talk about transformational coaching, it's I think it's always been in the game. The best managers tend to be the best man managers. Was what it used to be described as England back in the UK. Your man managers. But I think it's as sports psychology has become more apparent in the game. It's that autocratic coach, the whistle and the clipboard. It is hopefully developing and growing and becoming more democratic and sharing some of these responsibilities with our teams and with our players, and developing better relationships from it. The 4 I's. This is obviously quite an academic document, I would say. It's pulled from studies that have been done, but essentially these are your transformational coaching behaviors, and hopefully as you're reading through what they are, you recognize things that you do within your sessions that model pro-social behaviors, showing vulnerability, humility, discussing goals. The big ones as we're getting down there is listen to input, sharing decision making, and then showing interest and recognizing accomplishments. And what I've done on the next slide is I've just sort of jotted down some brief ideas of some things that I do within my environment, and would like to open up the floor and see if there's anything else that sort of jumps out at people that they maybe do, and open the floor. But some of the simple ones, just, do your players come and give you a handshake before they arrive for training? Are you giving high fives after training? Modeling behaviors. It's being respectful to opponents and referees, even when the referees make decisions you don't agree with. Are you big enough to admit when a session didn't work because it's your fault, or is it always the player's fault when a session doesn't work? Again, when I was younger, I was guilty of, we haven't worked hard enough here in this session, as opposed to being like, this session was actually crap. It didn't work, and that's on me, and I'll go and fix that. We do a pre-season event with our teams where we go through team contracts and goals, and this is player-led. It's a pretty simple process where, with my teams, they get in small groups and come up with some goals, and then I sort of probe them on what those goals are. And many of them, because kids, they'll say they want to win the league, which is clearly uncontrollable. So then we dive into, well, what can we control? So then we start to talk about showing up, the commitment, the effort required. And for me, this becomes their team contract that they create. So when we talk about transformational coaching, the biggest thing is always like, you don't want to drop your standards, because we've still got to create the structure and environment where kids can come and work hard and develop. So it's how do you control those standards? And for me, it's the players decide this is what we want to do. This is how we're going to do it. And then my job is just to hold them accountable to their own standards that they create within these team contracts. And within there, I've assigned leadership roles as well. So the players will, run the warm-ups, the halftime team talk. Many of those will be player driven. With my older boys team, we talk about the upcoming opponents and decide on formations together. I send out a form, which I'll share, that elicits feedback from them of what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and reflects their learning. And then something I don't do, but something that's been mentioned to me, sort of mood checks at sessions. There was some good advice given to me, like if you do a session and you can put a red cone down and a green cone down, and the players stand behind the green if they enjoyed it and red if they don't, and you start to get instant feedback on what sessions people maybe like or don't like. Monitor check-ins as well. A really good bit of advice I got from one of my friends was there'll always be players who seek you out for feedback, who want to come and ask at the end of every session, what can I do? But how many introverts on your team don't approach you for that feedback, and are you seeing them enough? So actually jot down, on this session I spoke to this player, this player, this player, and keep a record of it, so you can check that you monitor that you're checking with players regularly, and those players who maybe are a little bit shy, you can still reach out to and find a time to talk to them. But in doing all of these things, I feel like you create an environment that's for the kids, and it's less about the coach. And I always got told in coaching courses that you meant to coach, and facilitate was always like a bad word. But I think as I've got older as a coach, I think facilitating good sessions and being really detailed in your planning and how you go about things is actually fine, in my opinion. But yeah, I'd just open up the floor, Gary, if there's any sort of comments or questions on that before we move on, or anything else anyone sort of reads and does that might be good to share.
I'll go. So thank you for this. I think this is very detailed. I love it. We just had a kid at our club, boys, commit suicide 2 days ago.
Wow.
And he wasn't directly one of my kids that I coach, but we know the kid really well. And so that puts it in perspective in terms of transformational coaching and how important it is. Everything else goes out of the window in terms of your playing principles and methodology. And so, this is important stuff. We asked the kids, we brought them together. We had, parent meetings last night, and we had, I met with my teams. Kids that didn't even know the kid. We spoke about the topic surrounding mental health and suicide, and it was quite remarkable to see how many kids were very, very much so engaged in how we debated canceling games and canceling training sessions, and we asked our players, what do you want? And a lot of them, all of them, wanted to be around each other, wanted to be together. And I get this is an extreme example, but you said something to me that really kind of shook me. And it's the kids, and it's about the kids. Ultimately, it's really about the kids, and it's their environment, and so I think for me, it's really made me rethink these 4 eyes and how I implement those in my trainings. And I love these examples, the leadership roles, and letting the team decide on certain things. And as we live in a world today where you have mental illness it gets tossed around a lot, and we can sit there and say, we do this, we're following protocol, we give kids the hotline, they have all the access. But if we don't do stuff like this in our trainings, we're not giving kids sort of the tools to communicate if they're in trouble, and if they have these sort of things going on in their lives. So yeah, I mean, I think it's very important and essential that we as coaches have kind of these sort of vessels and these sort of tools in our training, so kids can express themselves and kids can discuss. And I'm not saying it has to be more than 15 minutes. If it's tailored to handshakes, to have a check-in, to have a rating at the end of the sessions, and so you're gaining some sort of understanding of what kids may be, and you're able to track some trends. I think it's very detailed, and I think it's very important. So anyways, not to go on that steep downhill note, but this came at a good time for me. So thank you. Please continue.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Gary. Yeah, when you're putting these things together, my focus is on keeping kids in sport, but the impacts far outweigh that, obviously. So no, I appreciate you sharing, man. Gary C, anything to add, or do you want me to move on to some of the methodology stuff?
Yeah, let's move on. I've got loads of stuff, but I'll wait till the end of it. But this is fantastic. So then we take it from the why we do it, the philosophy of why you do it, into the behaviors that we want built into our training sessions, and then into how do we actually deliver this, and which is the best method to deliver it. So we do a lot of work again with our coaches on asking them to analyze and reflect. I feel like the easy ones to do is just pulling a session, and especially all the amazing resources Gary's put together of I can just grab one and hop onto a field and deliver it. But really challenging our coaches to reflect on what went well, what didn't go well, and again, all those transformational behaviors, did we hit on some of them? And then in terms of the methodology itself, on the next slide, again, this isn't stuff that I've made up. This is all stuff that's out there, and I've just used and figured what works for me. But if I'm on the next slide, Gary. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry if I froze you. Or
I don't know if you have. I had issues earlier on, so it might be me.
I don't know. There we go. Everyone's still with us?
Yep.
Perfect. So this obviously was I pulled this from the coaching manual when we had the coaching manual as Surf's platform. I like it because it's a simple graphic, and in my club I've got coaches who high school age kids to still dads running teams, and some of them. So we try and focus people's attention away from the command style of coaching, which we know is still useful, but we want more of our coaches doing guided discovery, question answer, And as I said before, even trial and error. And for me, especially with some of our younger coaches, just them facilitating a session, it can be better than them feeling like they need to step in and solve all the world's problems. And I think back to when I was a younger coach as well, and I come with a session plan and I had my 3 coaching points, and no matter what happened in that session, I was delivering those 3 coaching points. And again, the sessions were about me and how much I know, and I'm going to teach these kids this topic whether they want it or not. And I really try and share that experience with my coaches, that it's better to let them figure out. And again, the game's the best teacher, and if you facilitate a good session, then all you need to do is step in with little points, and it's not about you. So then on the next slide, we talk about, with our teams, trying to use the GAG methodology. So I don't know if you can go on the next slide. It's always a funny one after spending 6-7 slides talking about how important coaches are, to then have Roy Keane's quote that skill is not the result of coaches, it's a result of the love affair between the child and ball. But I love it because it just speaks to culture. And again, if we can create a culture where the kids love what they do and they love coming to sessions and they feel safe coming to sessions, then they're only going to play more. And if they play more, they get better. It's cause and effect for me. And that's why we use GAG as well, because it's, back in the day, that I'm only 37, but when I was growing up, we played on the streets. The organised, structured sessions wasn't really where footballers were made, personally. So we've moved back to GAG and try to give the game back to the kids. So, they can still turn up and do a ball mastery, physical literacy warm-up with tag games and mirror games and chasing games. Your first game can be conditioned. So that can be, you can play handball, you can play the 4-goal game, you can play a small side, any variation to what your topic is. Your analytical, that's the small phase now, where the coach is more active and making corrections. And then the game is back to the kids, where the coaches step out and observe and assess the learning. So we really try and push this methodology with all of our teams, recognizing that, sometimes you might want to do a progressive part session, you might want to do a phase of play functional, but as a standard and as much as possible, we want GAG happening. And then some of the benefits are on the next slide. This was put together by Ontario Soccer, and really good webinar. Again, I'll share the links if anyone wants them. But with the whole methodology, it really is the game becoming the teacher. I don't know if you've got the next slide there, Gary.
Yeah. It might be slow. Let me know if it doesn't pop up. No, it's up on my screen. No saying.
It got training methodology, benefits, real soccer.
Yeah.
Yep.
This one.
Yeah, that's good, mate. I think we're getting to the end of it now anyway. So, so the message there from Scaloni talked about Messi, and in today's world I think Gary Neville was even talking about it the other night after the Manchester derby, about football becoming a little bit robotic. But yeah, children overwhelmed with information. They receive the ball, told what to do, fewer dribblers because they're getting the ball and told to pass it. And then he's imagining a world where Messi was an 8-year-old today. And if he'd exist in today's world. I just think the GAG methodology lends itself really well to transformational coaching, because it just gives the game back to the kids, and it reduces the role of the coach into, when you're stepping in to make interventions, make sure that they're good interventions and they're quick, and as many soccer actions as the players can get, the better. Again, you're not training skills, you're training techniques. Socially, it's their game. They're playing with their friends. There's more ball rolling time. It's more fitness related because they're moving all the time, and then those increases in confidence. It's their game. They're the ones making decisions. A bunch of good things that are involved in the GAG methodology. And then we end the meeting with sort of redefining what success looks like. For us, if they had fun, if they got better, and if they're coming back to us, we've had a successful season. And we really try and sort of pull it away from, wins and losses and all those other things that at the end of the day become a little bit meaningless. So, yeah, that was it.
Brilliant.
Thanks for listening.
No, that's brilliant, Craig. Brilliant. I've got 2 questions, and then I'll open it up for everyone else. My 2 questions. Well, first of all, so this here is this popping up, the transformational coaching behaviors? Can you see this?
Yeah, this one's the one with the actions on it.
Yeah, and this is what I love, because I feel as if, similar to the psychology discussion we have last week, is that, as coaches, we aren't the most aware people in terms of, like, everyone usually thinks that they're player centric, usually thinks that they play a really good progressive style of soccer, and then usually thinks that they are demonstrating these behaviors 1 through 11. You took out the actions and you just put this down and say, are you doing this? I think a lot of coaches on a random survey, not at any club or any association, I think they would say, yeah, we do that. But I think what makes this really powerful is the actions piece. And I think we need more of that there in environments, to say, if we are going to change it, the environment has to look different. Otherwise, it's just at the mercy of interpretation, which I'm personally not a big fan of, because, again, it'll always go back to how someone sees it. My question with that is that, okay, with these behaviors, what are you looking at from a leader standpoint? Like, when you go out, are you not governing these? Or are you encouraging these? Or, like, what does this look like on a rainy Tuesday night?
No, it's a good question, and that's why some of them are more simple to monitor than others. Like the handshake thing, it's really easy to see if the coach is greeting and engaging with the players. So if a coach, like, my assessment starts when I arrive and not when the session starts. So I'm looking, is he greeting the players as they come? Like, is he having check-ins? Is he talking to his players? Is he, if there's someone injured at the side of the field, is he going to talk to that player, or, are they ignoring that player? So some of them are easy to witness than others. We have put some documents together again, which we try and track. So again, I was having trouble sharing my screen, but I'll share afterwards. I do like a pretty simple team report at the start of the season. And we ask all coaches to fill that out. Now, again, we're in a club with 56 teams, so not everyone does it. And it's hard to be chasing individual coaches down to actually make sure they've done it. But if you can get a high majority of people in that phase of doing it, then it does give you a chance to monitor it a little bit. So within that, like, I just ask myself questions in there. It's just like, what does my team need to work on? Who's my strongest players who might need additional training sessions with older teams? Who's my weaker players who might need additional training with weaker teams, or who might need more, drop down in age and get more success? I've got a tab there that's got my players split into like 4 brackets for leadership, of ones who are absolute leaders, ones who have got potential and might need a push, the ones who are maybe struggling. So again, just for me, it goes into that planning phase, and I've asked all my coaches to fill out this document, and we're just now chasing them down to make sure it's done.
One thing, as you brought that question up, Gary, and this is really good stuff, and I just thought how interesting it would be to do or to hand out like a multi-factor leadership questionnaire based on a lot of these actions. And it'd be really interesting to send out to each age group, including the 65 and up, see sort of what the kids are saying about their coaches and how that could kind of rate, or how that could kind of correlate to whatever, maybe development, or the kids being retained into the club, or just their overall satisfaction and well-being. I don't know. Could be kind of interesting. I just be encouraged, what ages are the most important to have those actions,
Yeah.
One of the things sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a great point, because we send out like parent surveys at the end, and it's all about like rate the club in communication, but we haven't actually sent one directly to the players, but I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, it'd be a way to kind of encourage the coaches as well, because it's kind of one thing to say like, hey, you need to like play this kid a little bit more, and another thing completely different to just be like, hey, you're not doing these sort of actions. And yeah, but how do you monitor that, and how do you get coaches? But yeah, it's a very powerful thing, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I wonder as well, is that you create, by doing this, a profile of a coach that is aware and is obviously in it for the right reasons and is doing the right things and is more diligent around. Again, if someone had said to me, I 10 years ago, someone had to come watch my training sessions, and again, I would have thought that I did A, B, and C, and you're looking and evaluating different areas, and I think that's really, really powerful. Another question I have is if that's the case on profiling, and there are different types of coaches at different clubs. Usually, unfortunately, there's the leader, the strategic people are specialized in this area, are directors. What type of coach do you feel gives you the most, not resistance, but could potentially be hard to get into this mindset?
I think we've all probably got an image in our mind of what type of coach would be change resistance to this. Quite honestly, though, in my experience, like even my older coaches, like my more ingrained coaches, have been a little bit open to it. I speak to one coach in particular who's he's a funny guy, man, and he's like, he's a little bit old school in his sessions, but he has come around in his interactions with the players. Like he's still a little bit. He's like the one who, there'll be fitness without the ball at the start of the session, and because we're in pre-season now, it's a lot of running, and he still likes his passing patterns and unopposed skill work, which again, like, fine with it in certain elements, but there's different like behavioral elements that he's brought in, and he's definitely calmed down a lot, and some of his interactions with players have simmered a little bit. So I think if you get anyone who's too change resistant and won't change, then if it's not with your values of your club, then you've just got to remove them, to be honest, regardless of how many trophies they're winning, or you've just got to decide what your club values are, and if it's not aligned, then unfortunately they've just got to move on. But I think when you sell it through the lens, like again, I found value in selling it through the lens of this is why it's important, like the benefits of kids playing sports, and I think it's very hard to argue that when anyone sees it. So anyway, that's how we try and address it, and then again the coach philosophy.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's wishful thinking almost to think that older coaches have the struggle because it's a generational change. But the next generation of coaches are in my opinion becoming, like you said, like you don't like the coaching philosophy piece of it, and it is coach centric in itself to put a philosophy down, model a play down, and say we're all going to do this. So I wonder if somehow again that the coach is still holding everything. We've just changed the language of it, but we haven't changed the model, and that's why I think it's such an importance. I like the thing Neville and the robotic footballer. Like I even see it at my kid, 9 years of age, and it's not that they're not having fun. It's that it's not really that engaging an environment compared to school and other things that they're doing these days, and video games and all that. There, it's just not that exciting. It's fascinating.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, don't know who that is.
What's up, Gary?
Yeah, sorry, name's not popping up. Is that Ian?
Jeff.
Jeff, what's up, Jeff?
What's up, dude? Hey, real quick, I appreciate it. You know, I think running multiple clubs over years of doing it, it's never an issue letting go of coaches, especially when things aren't going the way you intend them to, right? The bad coach, whatever. The hard part is to get rid of coaches that are present, dedicated, and very well liked, but they're not executing what the club wants. So I'm going to grab this recording. I'm going to send it to my coaches, fire the coach, and then I'm going to say it was collectively all of us being able to. And I joke, but I've had this conversation for the last 5 days with various coaches because it's going to be an emotional change, not so much even a, I mean, we got to go in a different direction, but there's nothing wrong with the guy. And I think what you guys were saying about if we can't get him on board, like at some point, when do you either move him around, put him somewhere else, remove the director, leader, whatever that topic is, or whatever that title is. But it's been really right time and right place for me. So thank you. Sorry, I heard you, Gary. Did you guys get me or R2D to the whole thing?
Yeah, no, that was I heard it from my end, Jeff. Brilliant. Fantastic. Any other questions? This has been great. You know, it did start off a bit up and down. Doesn't look like it. Craig, would you be all right sharing? You were talking about sharing that. Shoot that over to me. Would it be all right if I got that out to the coaches?
Yeah. I'll send you a couple of things that I did. The very basic. Again, I'm like I'm not a sports psychologist. This is just things that I've done with my team. So feel free to use them, not use them. Yeah, but I'll share them, Gary, for sure.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love it. It's so important, and I think this is going to be a topic for the next few years. Is trying to get the attention and trying to get the engagement and try and get a little bit more of enjoyment in environments, because as well, like it is hard for coaches because of that external pressure, I would say, Craig. Like I see it, it's hard. You can feel tension today. Officials, parents, like the whole environment is tense, and it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I live it myself still. It's that I sat there going like, man, if I make this change, you almost sort of see what can happen. But I just feel like you got to just get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and again, just tie back to what are your values, like why are you doing it? And I think you can't go wrong then. Like you lose players, and you might lose games, but at least you can look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. Like that's
it. Yeah. Those mistakes will haunt you way low. Everyone forgets about the game in two days. Those mistakes, they're tough to keep living that there. Yeah, I completely agree. This is brilliant. This is great. I'll get this out on the replay as well. And Craig, thanks so much for sharing, and keep doing what you're doing. It's a brilliant topic. And Gary, thanks for sharing your piece as well, Gary. And I'm really, really sorry to hear that. I had no idea. That's just tragic, and thinking with you all you guys up there, that's a very, very tough thing to deal with. But
thanks, man. Thank you for listening. Thanks for sharing. Awesome topic.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Thanks, Craig. Top class. Chat soon.